There we go. So I just started recording. Take it away, Mariana.
Okay, well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Mariana Orrego. I'm a third year optometry student at Nova Southeastern University College of Optometry. I have some slides already set with some things about my journey here, and then at the end I have a Q&A open for any questions that maybe I didn't touch upon. So I'll go ahead and get started. Let's see. Is this not going? Can you still see? Is it moving the screen? Like, can you?
Yes, you're all set.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm originally from a small town in southern New Jersey. So I moved to Florida about 3 years ago. So I know y'all are up in New York. So it's big difference for sure. Um, I have lived here. I love it so much. I think that this is where I'm probably going to end up practicing when I'm done. It's been a great journey here and it's been a great opportunity for me so far. So. Okay, for undergrad experience, I graduated in 2020, so that was the COVID year. So I have no graduation pictures besides in my backyard. I went to Stockton University. It was really close to my house. I got a degree in health science. So I guess this is more if there's like first years or second years, maybe undecided, or maybe if like you're unhappy with your major. I wasn't, what before I started school, I was like, do I want to be a bio major? Do I want to do something else? My cousin's an MD, so I was, talking to her about it, and she told me that there were a lot of her classmates who weren't even bio majors or chem majors. She said one of her close friends was a psych and religion major, just as long as you had your prerequisites like ready by the time you applied. That's really all they cared about. And for me personally, I just really liked that health science kind of had more of like holistic courses. I had nutrition courses, medical humanities courses. Like I felt like it made me a better healthcare professional as a whole. And this is not by any means telling anyone that like if you're already a bio major or chem major, that's completely fine. But this is maybe for someone who might feel like that isn't for them. This is also a great opportunity for you. Just make sure that you check the requirements for the school that you're applying to. But I'll get to that in a little bit later. So involvement in undergrad is too involved a thing? Absolutely, 100%. And that was definitely me. I was way too involved. I was busy every single day. My best advice to you is to definitely stick to maybe one or two like clubs or organizations that you can have a leadership role in that can really help you get volunteer hours and expand your resume. My biggest two were the activity leaders of new students. It was like a 2-week period where we helped incoming students. It was very different from orientation leaders, but we worked with them. But ours was just for the 2 weeks in the beginning of the semester. And then being in a sorority, I was in the Delta Zeta sorority. And then from there, I was able to become president of our honor society. And I have countless community service hours and opportunity from that. So that's my advice. I clearly didn't learn my lesson because I'm still super involved at Nova, but I guess that's just me. I really wanted to build my resume, but that's what I would definitely say is if you could do two, so you could commit to at least having a leadership in one of them. So, healthcare related jobs, I have probably been told no more times than I have been told yes. I was looking for a job in optometry probably my sophomore, junior year of college. And I turned in my resume to 12 places and they all said no. They said, nope, you're too young. We want people with already have a degree, blah, 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 whatever. I was walking through the mall one day and I walked by Lens Crafters and I was like, you know what? If they're telling me no, I need to ask someone who is going to tell me yes. And I walked in and I saw the manager and I asked him, I was like, hi, like I'm interested in optometry. Do you have any volunteer opportunities? And he goes, we actually need someone to work on the doctor side. And I got hired. So that just worked out really well for me. But working at Lens Crafters was great. I worked the majority on the doctor side. That's my grandma right there. Um, and I also, once the doctor, he usually would leave a little bit early. I also got to work in the optical side. So we learned about like frames and like types of lenses and stuff. So it was really cool. And I learned a lot that has helped me in optometry school as well and working with patients as well. So if you can try to get a job, that's great. There's a lot of students who never had experience in optometry offices, and that's okay. But I think it kind of gets you more comfortable talking to patients and kinds of like it kind of like helps you build up that confidence as well. For the OAT. So I know that this is a big one, and on my Instagram page, and that's basically why I started my journey, is I have been very fully transparent about my optometry journey. It has not been linear by any means. I took my OAT 3 times. I took it twice in undergrad, and then I took a gap year, and then I took it then. So the materials that I use. So I first used just the Kaplan book the first 2 times. I don't know how much it is now, but I think it was around, like, $100 when I this was back in, like, 2018, 2019. So that's what I used. Now for my 3rd time, I was like for me, this was kind of like an investment to my career, and I was like, "I need to do super, super well." So I paid for a self-paced course and private tutoring, and the self-paced course I think is, like was at the time, like, $1,400, and then the private tutoring, I'm not sure how I think it was $800. So it was a lot of money. Do I think it was worth it? I know someone who studied for 1 month and they got a 390. And I know someone who told me she studied for 3 weeks and she got a 360. And then there's someone like me who spent almost a year studying, and I barely averaged in my total science and a total average, like a 300. I would get like my highest was math and reading, which was like a 380, 360, but then my sciences would go from like 320, 290, 300, 310. They were very, very average scores. So I guess it's comes down to how are we, sorry, should I okay. Can you still hear me?
I took care of it, no worries. Yeah, you're all
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what was I saying? So, is it worth it? I mean, it depends. Like, how are they studying versus how I was studying? I mean, I got all of these materials and I got a very average score. Um, so I don't know. That really comes down to you. Like, what is your preference? I have friends that used OAT boot camp, Chad's videos. I used Chad's videos. I just thought they were really hard for me. Like, I didn't personally like it. I'll have to explain later the program that I was in. I was in a 1-year prep program, and then I matriculated in OD1. So now this is like 2022 at this point when I'm in OD1. And at that point, a lot of my friends, I talked to them like, "What did you guys use for your OAT?" And a few of them had mentioned OAT Booster. And I ended up getting in contact with them and seeing what they provided, and I compared it to Kaplan because at that point I was getting a lot of students asking me. I would say OAT Booster, they have the live videos, they have live sessions, they have like 7,000 study questions, like live video explanations. So I'm not telling you what to do. Like if you feel like financially the Kaplan book, you're like $100, it's easy. I can supplement that with my notes. Absolutely go for it. If you're like, you know what, I don't care about the money. I want something more intense. Kaplan, OAT Booster are great options. I'm not self-promoting anything, but if I could help anyone out financially, I do have a code that you're welcome to use and you can check it out. And of course, you can message me after for any more questions. Okay, so application. So this is for the previous cycle. So the next cycle is going to open probably June 20th of 2025. My best suggestion to you is to start filling out the application as soon as it opens because it takes a very long time. And just because you start it doesn't mean you have to apply anywhere. So what I did was I immediately opened it and I filled out, I had my resume ready. So I started to fill out because it'll be like, what are your awards? What are your achievements? What clubs are you in? So you can just easy copy and paste, and that will save you so much time. I already knew who my letters of recommendations I was asking. I asked the doctor that I worked for, the manager at LensCrafters that I was working at, and my academic advisor who I also took classes with. They all three knew me the best, and I know that I was confident that they would write something that would represent me, very well. Another thing is that you have to fill in your transcript. So I didn't want to mess that up. I was like, knowing me, I'm going to put something so erroneous on this thing. So you could just pay a fee. At the time, I think it was $75, but it takes like a few days, but you send in your transcript and it auto populates on the system. It's so silly. I don't know why. Like they already have a copy of the transcript, but they wanted you to individually put it in. So then another thing is that all the optometry schools are also listed there. So you can see what Salus is looking for, you can see what Berkeley is looking for, like, etc. So I was able to see, like, for example, I couldn't apply to Salus, I believe, because I didn't take the second level of inorganic chem. But at that point, I was like, I don't really care. Like, I didn't want to, that wasn't on my top list for myself personally. So, but that's a good thing to look at as well. Cause if like you're maybe like a junior or a senior, like if you can take an extra course your senior year, like that you need, that's a great thing to do too. And then that way you can also see, like if there's a supplemental application, a supplemental essay. And if you have a pending OAT like me, I did reach out to the schools personally. So as I start applying, they start to get like notified that someone's applying. And since I already had OATs, I didn't want them to think that that was the final thing. So I emailed each school privately. I said, "Hi, my name is Mariana Orrego. I'm applying. I have a pending OAT. If you see my application, just let you know my tentative date for the test is whatever." And they actually responded and were very nice. So they were like, "Okay, thank you." And that was fine. And I think you can also put on Optumcast that you have a pending OAT and the date on there. So that's also a neat feature from there. Okay, so the interview process. This is super cliche. And on my Instagram, if you go on my highlight tabs, if you scroll all the way to the end, I have like an interview tab, like of all the posts that I mentioned of good tips. So something that I talked to my advisor about is I was like, how can I stand out if my interviews were online because it was like during like this COVID, like the end of COVID. And he was like, you have a very outgoing personality, like wear something that like represents that. So I literally went and bought the shirt and I was the only one with a colorful shirt. Everyone was in black and gray. And I'm like, if I need to stand out somehow, I was like, maybe this is going to work for me. I remember in my Nova meeting, I have friends that still remember me from that shirt, which is so funny, but that's just something like you don't have to do it. But if you want to maybe stand out, if it's a big group of people, that's something so small that you can implement. Definitely research the school and the program that you are applying to. That was one thing that the interviewer said was that I had so much knowledge of the school that I was applying to, but you kind of have to know like what area are you serving? Like, for example, down here in South Florida, it's a lot of Hispanic patients. It is a lot of Creole speaking patients. So how can you learn how they're going to ask you hard questions like what can you do to help serve these populations, like what population are you serving? If they tell you what doctor is going to be interviewing you, read up on their biography. Like say you had Dr. So and so and they did their residency in ocular disease, you can tie in that in a conversation. So they know if you read up on your stuff. They're going to ask you why optometry, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, etc. And my best suggestion is to practice with a friend, family member, a friend, with each other. Um, for me, I'm fully transparent. I did really well in school up until my sciences started to hit like calculus, biochem. Like I got a C in those classes. I had to retake Orgo. I got a D the first time, and then I got an A the second time. So and they're gonna ask you, they were like, "Why? Like, what happened?" And you have to really figure out, like, my best suggestion is to rephrase it, not like showing your weaknesses, but how can you turn it into something positive? Like acknowledge that it happened, but how did it make you stronger? I became a better learner. I learned how to study harder. I focused more on my goals and just try to turn everything into a positive. Do not highlight your weakness because I feel like that just makes it seem more negative on you. So that's personally what I did. And also don't be afraid to ask the doctors a very hard question. Like when I was getting interviewed, one of the schools I interviewed had kind of a lower pass rate than the rest of the country. And I asked them, I said, why does your school have this pass rate compared to the rest of the country? Um, and that's an important thing to know. You have your rights to ask these questions. Like as much as you're trying to impress them, they are trying to impress you. They know that they have a lot of competition. So don't be afraid to get your questions answered because they're just as important. Okay. So, like I said, I got into a 1 year prep program at Nova. So, Nova has a few programs. They have the traditional optometry program, they have the preparatory optometry program, and then the extended 5 year program. The extended 5 year program is for typically like if you're a caregiver, if you're a parent, if you had another like career path before this. It's just they split up the didactic years in three to give you a lighter load to do whatever you have to do. The POP program is kind of for those students who maybe had a lower GPA or a lower OAT. And for mine was the OAT. I was at a 290, 300 average, and the class was averaging, I think, like 320, 330. But I had no classmates in my class in OD1 who got in with a 290. So I don't know. That's just what they say. So the POP program is a 1 year prep program, and basically you take a combination of your POP courses and the OD1 courses. They changed the curriculum around a little, but I think that it is for the better now. So you need to average an 83%, not per class, but your whole GPA that semester. It has to be 83% per semester, and then the whole overall as well. And then a final grade of a 70 or below is failing, so you would get removed from the program, whereas in OD1 in the OD program, if you get below a 70, you do a remediation test, but I'll get to that later. You take a combination of POP courses, which is like a pre-optics, something else, I don't remember, and then classes with OD1s. So it's cool. You get to meet everyone in the class. Like honestly, no one know, like there's no divide or anything. I know that some people like are concerned about that, but that's not the case at all. And it's just 2 semesters, and if you pass, you matriculate straight into the OD1 and no OAT is necessary. Okay, so our optometry program. So it's located in Davie, Florida, and it is in a building called the Health Professions Division, and I literally call it Grey's Anatomy because you're all in it's really cool. It's a huge building of like a school of medicine, and everyone is color coded, like MDs, DO, dental, OT, PT, like optometry. There's like 15 schools of medicine, and you take classes with them too sometimes. It's really cool. I like it a lot. Um, so Nova's program. These are all my personal opinions. This is what I feel. Um, I think Nova makes excellent doctors, like beyond just optometry. The amount of knowledge that I feel like I have at this point, and is you will all learn in your career that the beauty of optometry is that it is literally the windows to your health. Like your eyes are the window to your health. Like being able to do someone's eye exam beyond just better one or two, like you can see if someone has a tumor, if someone has diabetes, hypertension, like it goes so much more beyond than what people make it out to be. And I think they have prepared me so well with all areas of medicine, whole body anatomy. It is an excellent, excellent program. I will say that the curriculum and the workload is very dense. It's not an easy program, but it is very doable. In my class, I think there was 116 of us, and no one has like been kicked out of the program. I think only like one person, she left by two people left by choice, and then one took a leave of absence. But this is a very doable program. They've changed the curriculum around. So one thing that we do is at the end of the semester, our dean picks 10 random students and she talks to all of us and admin, and she's like, well, what worked, what didn't work? And um, they change everything. I can't see the chat box. Can someone read that for me? Sorry.
Sure, I'll read it. Let's see. So Haley said, that was my favorite part of shadowing and working as a tech. I love how you get to view other things going on in the body from the eyes.
Absolutely. Like it is, you will just think, oh, it's just the eyes, just this, just that. Like I think some people, and it might deter some people, I don't know. I love learning about systemic health is like my jam. Like I absolutely love it. You get to learn about how pregnancy affects the eyes, and you get to do a lot more. Like you are your patients, like sometimes like the shoulder that they can cry on. Like I've had patients cry. I've had patients hug me and talk to me, and it is such a great field. Like this is such an amazing profession. Like I would not change this for anything in the world. So I personally think that the program is great. Like I said, the workload can be a little heavy, but um, with the curriculum changes that they've made, I think it is really good what they're doing. And another question I get is, can I work while I'm in optometry school? Absolutely not. You will not have any time to do that. I don't think there is anyone in our school, not even like just optometry, any program that works. If they do, I have no idea how they do it, but yeah, no working. And this is, I guess, kind of maybe for the third or fourth years at your school that maybe are now trying to narrow down based on like the clinic opportunities and what goes on with that. So we're one of the schools that starts earliest in clinic. So we start our second semester of OD2. And then you're working in partners in clinic just right there at our school's clinic. So we have the building and then there's a clinic, there's a dental clinic, the MD, OBGYN, like everything is in there. So now once you start OD3 through summer, winter, fall, you're going to rotate through our three clinics. So Davie is one of them. One is in Broward, which is Fort Lauderdale, and North Miami Beach. So your commute might range. That's something that maybe you have to think about. The Fort Lauderdale one, maybe 15, 20 minutes. North Miami Beach is about half hour, but depends on if there's traffic. If there's an accident, you can hit like 45 minutes. But that's actually my favorite clinic. I'm in the North Miami one right now and I love it. I wish I could have been there all of them because I love it so much. It's really, really cool. And the good thing is too, you see a bunch of different like populations. So you get to see a lot of different diseases and cases like that. And then, so that's one day of the week. And then the other day of the week, you're in a specialty rotation. So that's glaucoma, retina, dry eye, all of those listed there. So these are patients that already have glaucoma or have a retinal disease or have dry eye. So it's really, really cool. This is like more of a specialized type of scene. We also have about 2 Saturday clinics per semester, and then you also rotate through the optical. So that's third year. And now your fourth year, which is almost me, this November, so literally in 2 weeks, basically I'm going to get a class rank. They're going to rank you from 1 to the end, and based on your GPA. And you're going to pick your externship sites. So you have to pick 2 ODMD surgical locations and 1 primary care location. So they're available all through the country, majority like here in South Florida, but you can go, we have one in University of Pittsburgh. We actually have one in SUNY. There is North Carolina. There's so many opportunities. So this is a great time to travel as well if that's something that you want to do. And then we also have contact lens and peds, but that's one at our Nova, like the clinic in Davie. And I'll start that this May. And that is all that I have. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I have here, if anyone wants to like screenshot or whatever, but this is here for you guys.
Thank you so much, Mariana. Okay, I think this, I can't speak for everyone else, but I think this has been one of my favorite Q&A sessions that we've done. I think even Eugene, I think both of you provided us with so much insight and like answers to questions that we wouldn't have thought of and that nobody has really mentioned before. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
so I mean, I actually have a number of questions based on what you talked about, but I know
Sure.
a couple of the other members have questions as well. So Ruby, Haley, if you have any questions, by all means, go ahead and ask Mariana.
Should I stop sharing so I could see you guys? Is that okay? Like, will you
Sure,
guys?
of course.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. That should be
Oh,
good.
okay. Looks like Haley got kicked out. There we go.
Hi, Mariana. Thank you so much
Hi.
for presenting.
Oh,
It
thanks
was,
for having me.
it was very insightful. I do have a question about the OAT. Just
Yeah.
like how how much of a benchmark would it say it prepared you for optometry school? Like, were you able, I know you didn't score as well in it, but um like did that reflect how you performed in optometry school your first year? Like
No,
maybe
I
okay.
have a girl. I will say there were 20 students in the pop program. I can tell you that about five five of them are ranked top 20 in my class right now. One of my best friends, she scored about her same OAT as me. And like
Mhm.
you feel so like at first I was like, am I like not good enough? Is that I don't think that's what the point of that program is. I felt so prepared getting into like when I started OD1 because I knew I was like, okay, well, I have not as much classes. Like each semester in OD1 is it can get to like 9 classes and like 2 or 3 labs. Like the curriculum is, like I said, pretty dense. Um, but so in the pop program, you're in like 5. But again, like the anatomy I took in pop is the same anatomy I took in OD1. So I felt super prepared. I felt like it was such a good relief, like entering into optometry school.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the OAT is pish posh. Don't let that define you. Like literally, like if I could like eradicate the OAT, I absolutely would because I feel like sometimes it just discourages people for no reason. And like, I don't know, but I will say that it prepares you to study for something dense, like a lot of material at once. Like if that is like a pro, because you're studying for a lot of material in opto school. But yeah, I wouldn't say by any means it is reflective of anyone's GPA or anything at all.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
I think it was so refreshing to hear about the programs that they've offered because I've never heard of anything like that at any optometry schools that I've researched, especially the program. So you mentioned that, if you're a junior or a senior, take extra prerequisite courses that can prepare you for optometry school. Let's say somebody takes these courses and they feel ready. Would you recommend that they go for the POP program to
So
solidify their knowledge?
So that's something that I meant to say. You don't apply to the POP program.
Oh,
They offer it
okay.
to you. I completely forgot to mention that. I'm so sorry, but they basically look at your chart and they're or like your file and they're like, okay, well the OAT was meh or like the GPA was meh. Maybe but they have a really good this or a really good that. They might be like, okay, that's something that you can be offered. But like I mentioned, I do not take no for an answer. When I applied, um I called that because Nova was my number one. So I called them and I said, hi, I sent in my OAT. And he like looked at it, he was like, well, it's not where we wanted to be. And I was like, but my GPA is pretty good, right? And I was like, well, I know there's a POP program. This was like in February. Yeah, because I took it because they start doing it like they only take a limited amount of seats. And he was like, well, we sent our invitations like literally last week, like 5 days ago. But he's like, we still have room for like two more invitations. I was like, mine, give it to me.
Oh,
Please, please, please. I am begging on the floor, please. And he was like, okay. And so he sent it to me and it's like a first come, first serve, whoever like wants the interview. Like they'll send out like 50 invites and then whatever first 40 do it. So that just ended up working out for me because like I said, if someone tells you no, you're asking the wrong person.
mhm.
Like you need to like try. So yeah, the POP program you can apply to, you do cannot apply to it. But if you're maybe in a position like me, then that's something that you could probably consider. But when I mentioned the prereqs, it was more in the sense of like, say like for me, like I didn't take Orgo 2 and say I was like diehard Salis. I was like, I really want to go there. Okay, like yeah, I'll take it. So that was like kind of the only thing. But I wouldn't just take random prereqs to, or maybe if you want to like if you got like a C in chem and you're like, I think I can get an A and you want to do it, go for it and try. So
Oh, congrats, Mariana.
thank you.
So on the topic of first come, first serve, when you were speaking about the externships, does your GPA essentially dictate if you get first come, first serve?
hmm
Wow. So where have you done yours yet, or you plan on doing that next for
So
0?
2 weeks, they let us know. I
Oh,
picked the day before Thanksgiving. So
oh.
our class is really big, so that's just been, but there's a lot of students that are like traveling out. There's so many opportunities.
Right.
Like a veterans hospitals like all over the country that you can go to. There's like surgical sites. There's one site that I think works with like the Florida Panthers, which is really cool. Like their University of Pittsburgh, I know you guys are in the north, like that school is like unreal. Like their medical program is absolutely unreal. There's Bascom Palmer, which is like the number one eye hospital in the country. So you have so many opportunities to like expand and like practice. And you really don't know if you like something until you go there. Like the one in SUNY is like more of like a vision therapy, like peds location. And like there's some students that love it. So if that's like more geared to you, like there's opportunities for like whatever you're looking for.
So what is your top choice when it comes to the externships?
I think like any disease, like location, like we do have to pick two. That's kind of what like some students have like, it's a hot take, I guess. Like majority of the class wants to do primary care, like just work in a standard office, like not really into, all the disease stuff. That's more of like my field. Like I would like to work at like a center, like an ODMD location. That's more of like what I like, or a primary care that like specializes in that. So I'm hoping to see maybe if there's like a veterans hospital or any of like the disease locations. That's probably where I'm hoping more to be at.
Oh, okay. I mean, I hope you get whatever you're planning.
Oh, thank
I
you.
And when you were talking about the POPs program, Or even when you said you were I guess like with patients and you said that they come up to you and they give you hugs. I think it kind of made me realize how NSU doesn't just focus on, you retaining knowledge. They focus on creating doctors who care about the social aspect of patient care as well, which is such an important aspect of healthcare.
Absolutely. I like that is so after each encounter that we see a patient, we actually get graded on the encounter and they grade you on professionalism, clinical skills, and then clinical knowledge. So professionalism is definitely like something that is super, super important. Like how we present ourselves to the doctors, to our classmates, to the patient is super important. And like kind of having to, we're so geared on like what we learned in school, but like your books like can't teach you how to be like a kind person, a giving person. Like you really have to sit back and is like, why am I doing this? We get like time, like not timed, but there's like a time frame that like you should shoot for. I've had patients who like live alone, have absolutely no one, and I'm probably the first interaction they've had in weeks. Like I like tell my preceptor, I'm like, if I take an extra 30 minutes, like you can dock me, like I don't care. Like yeah, I'm getting graded, whatever, but this is like to for this patient, like I am their whole person right now. Like they don't know I'm getting graded. They don't probably care that I'm getting graded. Like, so that's like, and they respect that. They absolutely understand. Like, like obviously have control of your exam. Don't let them, they're going to probably start talking about the great, 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 great granddaughter. And like, you're like, great, fun. Like, let me see your eye. But, but when it comes to like serious, like topics and conversations, like definitely it's important. Like they emphasize, to give their patient like that time of day for sure.
And I think you started building those skills with your job at Lens Crafters, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, not everyone has had a job in eye care, but I felt like more comfortable. Like I was like, oh, I talked to patients before. Like I, even if like, or if you've worked as like a waitress or like in customer service, like that expands like how you interact with people. And like there's so many people that I know that have insane grades, like 4.0, like unreal students, and then it comes to clinic and they're so shy and like that is like their struggle. So for so long I'm like, oh, like why couldn't I be the 4.0? Like why couldn't I have this? But in clinic, like that's my jam. Like that's where I feel the most comfortable in, the most confident in. So like that's another thing. Like don't let grades define you. Let's just pass. No
Oh,
job is gonna ask what your GPA was. They don't care.
yeah. I feel like it's giving us all a little bit more hope, especially during exam season when it kind of
Oh
drops
yeah.
down.
I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you one test I took in an undergrad. Like I don't care. Like that stuff does not matter. But in the moment, I know it's like your whole life. You're like, oh, like I really want this good grade. I need to apply to optometry school, and my professor doesn't understand. I need them to curve me 0.24 more points so I can get this grade. But
Before I ramble on with more questions, Ruby or Haley, do you have any more questions that you'd like to ask Mariana?
I did have a question. Sorry, I came late.
no, it's
Um,
okay.
I'm from Susanville, California. It's like a super small town. Um, and I definitely agree that like waitressing and things like that, like I've worked at like fast food places like Panda and stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
that even helped out like even people being like kind of rude or whatever, you kind of learn how to, respond to that.
Mhm.
Um, and I definitely did feel more comfortable in like a tech position and like getting that one-on-one time with the patient. But I definitely am very shy and I get nervous and things like that. Do you have any tips like before optometry school? Like what were you shy before that or like what helped you?
I this I'm probably not the best person. I'm not shy. I don't when I was little, I was so shy. But actually like my senior year of high school, I was a gymnast like my whole life. And like that's such like an independent sport. And then I like got injured. I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, what am I gonna do with my time? So I joined cheerleading, which I feel like was so out of my comfort zone. Like I wasn't good. Like I like now I'm depending on like other people and stuff. So and like performing in front of people more. So I think like that kind of helped me. But I don't, are you in like any club? What year are you in again?
So I'm technically a junior.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I in high school I did I was in drill team and like now getting into, you know, coming to Chico, because I'm currently at Chico State and it's super, super big compared to my town. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know what, you know, clubs to join or anything like that. But yeah,
I
it's
think like if you could find like a club where like something that can like get you out, like to do something that like even if it doesn't even matter for your resume, like just
yeah.
something to get you like out and like to do something. But one thing that I will say, and I feel like this can apply to like anyone, is like fake it until you make it. There are some times in clinic that I'm literally looking at the patient, I'm like, I do not know what I am looking at. And I'm like, I couldn't tell you. And some and then the precept, so we have a doctor that oversees us. So yes, I do the full exam, but the doctor, for insurance and legal purposes, obviously they pretty much let you do the whole glasses, prescription, everything by yourself. But now when it comes to the dilation part, like there's more of a legal portion with that, so they 1000% check that. But sometimes they will ask me questions and I'm like, I can see the note in my head on my PowerPoint. It's starred, it's highlighted, it's circled, but the word is not coming to my head. So I'll try to like ramble. I will ramble and I will fake it out and like somehow like make a conversation. She's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. And then that's honestly the best way that I could tell you is like faking it till you make it. That is how I feel like I've done well in clinic is like even patients sometimes they will ask you everything. I had a patient ask me, she's like, so how do dilation drops work? Like, what is the mechanism of that? Like, how does it work in your eye for your pupil to get big? And I'm like, suddenly the knowledge left my head. Suddenly I was like back in like fourth grade and I'm like, but I got what I could say and like I faked what I could like legally because I'm not going to give this lady wrong information, but that is probably the best conversation is just be confident in you and fake whatever you need to fake.
Thank you.
You're
That was good. Be confident even if you're wrong, right?
I think that's some of the best advice.
because they don't want like the worst thing that they like one of the like wow, hello. The worst thing that they ever want to see is you to say, I don't know. If a doctor's asking me something, I like at least if you try to connect the dots somehow, they're like, yeah, like I see that you have an idea. You're not 100% right, but you're in the ballpark. Like saying like, I don't know, don't know, like they're gonna lose their mind. But that's why like fake it to like try, like whatever knowledge you have, if they're asking you, like that is the best thing and they will appreciate that. They know that you are at least trying.
I feel like that applies to most jobs too. Ruby knows this. I make it my personality, but I work with Essilor Luxottica as well. One of the
No way.
and I love it. It's like it's incredible. I feel like it's one of the best companies to work for. I work with Ray-Ban in downtown Manhattan.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way.
So I actually I did my first prescription job yesterday and the customers they ask so many questions and I'm just like
Yeah.
I use my knowledge. I know it's probably not accurate, but I'll make it sound right. And eventually I learn from it after and it makes sense. Yeah. Take it till you make it.
Oh, another thing that I just remembered that I think I briefly touched upon, but not much, was the class size. So every class size at Nova, we are one of the bigger schools. Each class size is about 115 in the OD program. There's about 30 POP students, and then there's about 10 E students that start off. But you're pretty much with the OD program the majority of the time. OD and E, the extended program that I mentioned, because they're kind of that hybrid. So they take some classes with the class below and the class above since their like curriculum is split. But since there's so many of us and obviously there's not enough like equipment and stuff, I forgot to talk about that too. They divide us in 4 lab groups, like A, B, C, and D, and each lab has about 25 people. And then they divide that lab into like A1, A2, B1, B2. just to fit everyone in clinic, or just to fit a lot of, like, some classes are just really small. But so some people are like, oh, do like your professors know who you are? Like, that's like such a big class size. They absolutely know 100% who you are. They will know there's some that will know your first name, your last name, and if you told them that your favorite color was like burgundy, they will remember that forever. But the lab is really cool because then you get to, like, you become closer with your lab because you have more smaller interactions with them. But like I said, you spend time with your whole classmates and then the smaller groups. And then you also in lab are with the doctors who like rotate out and teaching you like the optometry skills and stuff. So that's really cool. But another thing I forgot to mention is that we actually have a simulation lab, which is new to Nova. Basically, it's like all electronic, like you can practice your dilated skills on like a simulated like person, which is really cool. You could do slit lamp on that. So if you want to practice brush up on your skills without like blinding your friends, um, that's a really fun thing. So I really liked it. I feel like I learned a lot about my skills before I got to practice on a patient.
Are you allowed to use a simulated lab outside of lab hours?
Yeah, so as long as the library is open, you're allowed to go in there. I know that that class is actually incorporated in your curriculum in at the end of OD1. But it's only for a semester. So yeah, as long as there's not a class in there, yeah, you could go in. They'd be probably
Oh,
so happy to see you in there.
that sounds so exciting.
Yeah,
And
it's really cool.
thinking on top of the e-program that you mentioned. So earlier you said that you wouldn't recommend working when you're in optometry school, but if you're in the extended program, do you think it's doable?
Usually the people that are in the extended program already have like a reason why they need a lighter load. Like they have their parent is sick. They have two kids. Like they have a lot of like
Okay.
going on. The only thing that I know that people have like done for work is like work style, or no, at the time like you know when like you had to call like if you had COVID or whatever, like that's the one job that I know my friend had, was like a COVID tracker. But that job doesn't exist anymore. And then the only others are like work study. Like my friend works in the library. I mean, she's already in the library to study, so now she's just sitting at a desk, and like if people need help with like printing and stuff, that's what they do. But I don't know a single person that has a job outside of anyone, literally no
Okay. Yeah, because it's a full-time job in its own, right?
one.
And then I'd written down a question earlier. So you mentioned that you took a gap year. What was the timeline of that gap year? Like when did you begin studying? When did you apply?
So my junior year going into my senior year. So August, so that was like I started my senior year of college in September. So I took that OET then. Then I took my second OET my December of my senior year. And at that point I was like, okay, like I actually like need to like not be in school, not be in anything, and I can solely focus on my OET. So at that point I was like, all right, I'm taking a gap year. Like I knew December my senior year, I was like, this is it. Like gap year it is. Then I graduated May of 2020, and coincidentally everything was like locked down, so there was like nothing to do to anyways besides just study. So I was like, okay, I graduated in May. I took a month off just to like decompress from my college years, and then I started studying from July, August all the way until January. So that's a lot longer, like I said, than anyone else needs to be, but I just did not feel prepared. And I don't know if it's because like my confidence was shot from like taking it already. Um Also like the mental aspect of like COVID and like everyone being locked in. Like I was in New Jersey, like everything was completely locked down. So there were a lot of factors, but I ended up taking my exam then in February, and I still got accepted. So I got accepted. I also forgot to mention this. I got into Nova. I got into Indiana. They didn't require the OAT. Like the OAT was supplemental. But they only, that was the one thing I didn't know. They accepted me, but I needed to take a 2000 level animal class. And I was like, so I was like TBD on that one. But I really liked that school too. That one I was online, so I didn't get to visit in person, but I liked the interview online. I got into Kentucky. Um, SCO, I didn't, their average OET was pretty high, like a 340, 350. So I did not get accepted. And then MCPHS, I got accepted when I was in class at Nova. So I was like, oh, well, a little too late. And then what's NECO? But NECO just ghosted me. They were like, okay, thank you, and never waitlisted me, never nothing me. So I have no idea. I could have been accepted. I could not tell you if I did or wasn't.
Oh, wow. So being that you were in South Jersey, how did you decide which schools were at the top of your list and which weren't?
I had visited Nova back in like 2017. Like I always like wanted to move to Florida. And then when I found out that they had an optometry school there, I was like, "Oh, I'm fully sold." Like I have family that lives down here too, so it was like easy to visit. And then Salis was on my list, but then when I found out that the chem was like not compatible, I was like, "Okay, no." SUNY, I looked at and their average OET was kind of high, so I got scared. So I was like, "No." And um then I was like, okay, who's like close enough? And I was like NECO, MCPHS. Southern was kind of just like a, and then Indiana wasn't taking the OAT. So I was like, like this maybe might be a better opportunity for me in the meantime. Like, I don't know. And then Kentucky, I have no idea why I applied there, but I got in then.
So then, okay, on the basis of moving, right? Because you're leaving your family, you're kind of moving on, you're being independent. What does the financial aspect look? I hope you don't mind me asking, but
No, I fully ask me these questions. If my friends know me, I'm an open book. I have not like I had wished when I was applying that there were people transparent because I remember I saw a girl, she was like, "Yeah, I barely studied. I got like almost a 400." I was like, "Well, I'm done for." Like
oh,
felt like I was like, I want to hear more people's stories that are similar to mine.
yeah,
Like,
because everyone is,
absolutely, like, I don't want anyone to be in my position. Like, you guys are all very intelligent and very capable, but I also like to highlight that you don't have to be a 4.0, a 400 OAT, a 350 OAT or anything. And like, look where I am now. You know what I mean? So, oh, another thing that I forgot to mention, I'll answer your financial aspect, but I forgot this one was when to fully submit your application by. I think maximum February. Like, but like February as in like you just submitted your test. Like everything else should have already been like done. I know someone who applied, like I know some schools are like, we take you until May. We take you until the longer you wait, the more spots they fill. So that is just my suggestion. So like, I mean, I got into a lot of schools in February, but like if you can get before that, even better. So that was just one thing. So the financial aspect, yeah. Rent is very expensive, especially when you're near a school. Um, I think it's kind of universal. I have like friends, I have a friend in MCPHS, I have a friend in Salis, and the rent is just expensive. So down here, I live in a one bedroom. I live pretty close to the school because I didn't want to commute too far. And I think when you live so close to a school, they take advantage of that. So when I first moved here, my rent was 1,500. And then like inflation and all of that happened. Now my rent is like at 2,000, but everywhere around me is like flat 2,000. Some places for a one bed are like 2,400. So it is very
oh,
expensive. It also depends on where you want to live. Like if you go to like downtown Fort Lauderdale, if you want to move to Miami, if you want to like there are so many opportunities, but that's something that you like have to consider. I know a lot of people live with their roommates, so that like makes the price go down more. I just didn't know anyone. And I was like, I'd already lived, like, I lived with like a lot of girls in my sorority. I lived with a lot of people. I was like, I want to just kind of do my thing. And I was like, this is my time to for me to focus. Like I don't want to have to deal with like 300 dirty dishes in my sink. You know, that's the last thing. Like if it's a dirty dish and it's mine, like fine, but I don't need to clean everyone else's stuff when I have a million things going on. But we have a good amount of roommates in the class and like they're fine, like they've lived perfectly fine, so that's another option. I know renting through like a landlord is more affordable than like through a complex per se. So that's another option. But everything else, like I mean, I can only speak for here, but like it's South Florida, like it's not like even like doing things for fun. If you want to go out to dinner, if you want to do stuff, might be a little bit pricier, but like again, you can find things that don't require any money and still have a really fun time. That's another thing I really like down here. Like, yeah, like maybe you're like depressed in school, but at least it's like sunny out and like not like I don't miss like walking outside like after my chem exam, like, oh my God, I hate my life. And then it's cold out and now I'm defrosting in my car. I was like, oh, so that's one perk here is that the weather's really, really nice. It's really, you will never be bored. I know some people have asked, like, is it super distracting? This is going to be the first time that you're going to be with people that are all have the same goal as you. Like, you probably have roommates that are business majors, education majors, like everyone's kind of on their own playing field. And like, yes, like of course, like they're dedicated in what they do, but like you guys will never understand what you're going through. And then you're gonna have the friends that are like, yeah, I'm just passing the degree because my parents are paying for school, and like, yeah, I don't care what happens. Like here, like everyone cares. So like not that like you can't get distracted. Like you're gonna see people that go out like majority of weekends and good for them, but you're gonna have a lot of people that will study with you, will do things with you, or get dinner with you. So I don't know. I feel like here it's like a different like playing field type of thing. Like you'll have opportunity to do fun things, but you won't feel like distracted also.
So how do many of your peers or the students like afford to pay rent? Do they get the support from their families or like do they
So
take student loans?
I also forgot to mention this one. So you get all of I don't know anyone who isn't on like FAFSA, like the government
Yeah.
loan. The only time I had to take out a private loan was when I had to get my optometry equipment because in total, like from like our lens kit to like our BIO, like all the dilation equipment and stuff like that, it's about $10,000. So I had to take out a private loan. And then what I didn't know is that Nova's trimesters. Oh, yeah. By the way, there's only 2 weeks off per semester. I know other schools get like a month off or like 2 months off. Yeah, we don't get that. You only get like 2 weeks in between semester, fall, summer, fall, winter, summer. Like you will have a summer semester your first year, which a lot of people didn't know. So basically the way they give you your loan, they divide it in three. So I needed like $4,000 OD1 like to pay at that time for my first equipment, and then I needed another 5,000 in just in January to pay for my second. But since they split my $10,000 in three, I was like, well, or like, yeah, they split my loan in three. I didn't have enough, so I had to take out a little bit more. I think I ended up taking like 11,000 or something like that for that equipment. But it's annoying because I was like, well, I don't need this much money, but for me to have leftover and survive, like that's what I need. But my loan for myself is but now I don't have to buy any more equipment. Like that was just a one and done those 2 semesters and that's it. But yes, everyone is for the most part on FAFSA. Some people like have financial support from their parents for like rent and whatever. And then some students had to take out either like a grad plus loan or like a private loan for affording their rent and like whatever they need. So everyone's situation is a little bit different, but there are opportunities to take out like the loans and stuff.
Oh, okay. I think that might have been one of my biggest concerns because yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mariana. Ruby or Haley, do you have any more questions?
I just wanted to know like what the community like what at Novo is. Like, is it really competitive? You said like everyone is like they all have their same goal. So is that a
I
good thing or bad thing?
I
But
will say that it is furthest from like competitive. My
mhm.
class is I can only speak for my class though. Like everyone, I don't know what it is about our group. Like you can check out our Instagram page. It's like NSU Optometry 2026. I also run that page. Um, we are so close. Like you could ask anyone in our class for absolutely anything and they will be there. Like you could be at like 2 in the morning and you could text like we have like a Discord, be like, guys, I have a flat tire, please help. There will be 5 people like already there, like before you probably like closed your phone. So competitive wise, that doesn't really exist for us either because it's not like DOs and MDs that they actually are competing with the whole country to get their derm match, their neurosurgery match, like that stuff, like they actually are competing for. We have no competition. Like sure, like I guess like if you want a good GPA to pick a good externship spot, there is not one spot on that list that I'm like, I would be like, oh, I hate my life that I'm here. Like, absolutely not. I think all the spots are amazing. I guess, like, if you were die hard, like, I need to go to this location, like, whatever it takes, like, I wanna be here, like, fine, like, I guess maybe independently or competitive, but, like, no one is visibly, like, rubbing in your face, like, anything, like, everyone is willing to help you, like, doesn't even matter about, like, what your GPA, like, anything. Like, that is the one thing that I'm very thankful about, and, like, they're honestly, like, my rock in this whole program. This, like, program is very, very close, and our professors are very, very close to us too. So that's I will say that's we have amazing professors at the school, like, for boards like we're studying right now, like, not even just such kind people, like, they're brilliant. Like, we have one of the most notable doctors at this program, like, at every I, like, didn't even realize, like, I am in the eyes of celebrities in the optometry world. Like, every time we go to conventions, they're like, "Oh my god, you know Doctor so and so?" And I'm like, Yeah." Like, I didn't know, but they like, our materials for boards, like, I'm not even studying, like, that like, I'm studying their notes. I'm like, "These people are absolutely brilliant," and I think it's a really good program if you're considering it. Definitely come and, like, visit if you can. But yeah, I can on everyone will have something different. I'm sure you can ask someone else and they'd be like, "I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like the heat. I don't like how busy we are. I don't like," so take everything that we say with a grain of salt. I feel like if you can, like, reach out to a few people on Instagram or something just to get a better opinion, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be what you make of it. Like, it's your mindset, it's what you feel. Like, if every day you're like, "I hate it here, I don't like it, everyone is awful," like, what are you gonna expect from your day? So I say, like, try to cancel out the noise a little, like, make your own opinion, see what you think, because, like, I might be making this seem like this is the best place on earth, and then you go and you're like, "And what is this?" So, that's just my humble advice, is just try to, like, gather what you can, but ultimately make the best decision for you.
And then adding on to, the notes and the professors, what are your favorite study methods for optometry school or even undergrad if you have any advice?
The best thing is the way that you studied in undergrad, say goodbye to that method when you get to graduate school. That is going to like, that is probably the hardest thing is, like, I think, well, if you are dedicated and hardworking in your things, you're gonna have no problem, but the amount of time that, like, I spend studying compared to, like, when I was in undergrad, like, there's no comparison. Like, it's like your 12 hour you're fully like, your whole entire day is, like, devoted to that. I would say the best thing that I've learned is repetition, using Quizlet, Anki, and, like, the cool thing is that people in your class will make Quizlets and Ankis and share them with the rest of you, or there's older students that will share, like, their notes, their Quizlets, their Ankis, and that's super, super helpful. Um, Having, like, mnemonics, like, little things that can help you remember, but the best way is, like, if you read it once, it's not sticking, like, you have to continue like, actively learn, like, if I read something and I'm like, "Okay, I read it," but the best like, how do I actually know I understood it, is if I could tell, like, if I looked at Haley, I was like, "Alright, Haley, I learned about the lacrimal system, and this is what I learned, this, and this." But if I'm like, "Hey, Haley, I learned about the lacrimal system," and nothing is coming out of my mouth, and I can't even fake it till I make it, then I actually know that I'm like, "Okay, I need to, like, keep repeating it, keep practicing." So, that's the best thing is I think is repetition. I don't rewrite my notes, I feel like it's a waste of time. I'm like, why? Unless I need to simplify something or, like, maybe write on the side, like, okay, like, let me put this in, like, normal people words. I'm like, this does this and this does that. And I'm like, oh, great. And then that's honestly the best way to get by. But repetition for sure. And, like, really honing down on, like, basically locking in. Like, put your phone away. That's my biggest thing, especially me running, like, these Instagram accounts. Like, I have my personal one, the opto one, the ocular disease, and NSU optometry. So, well, the class one, but yeah, so it's very hard, but eliminate your distractions, focus, lock in is the best thing. And have a group, like I said, but group studying can be chaotic. I think the best time to study with a group is once you actually know what's going on. Because, like, Ruby and I, we were like, all right, we're gonna learn about the bones of the bones of the skull or whatever. And I'm like, all right, we'll meet up next week and now we can talk about it. But if we have not even read it, we don't know what we're looking at, that it's not gonna get too far. But that way, when we sit down and talk, maybe she learned something that like I didn't even catch or I didn't think was important, or I learned something wrong and she can correct me, you know what I mean? So that is my best advice, I feel like, for studying in opto school for sure.
So during lectures, do you write down what they say, or do you just make like the Quizlet and Anki? Uh,
Ah, so that's another thing. Nova require keep forgetting these important things. Nova requires you to get an iPad, the Apple Pencil. I don't know any single person that doesn't have an iPad. That's where we take our exams. We have like an exam app that like locks down the whole thing, but that's where you take it on. So basically, the professors will have the PowerPoints downloaded like already for you to download from Canvas. So I just download it and I like will write whatever they say like verbally, like I'll write it. Some professors don't provide their notes, which is a little bit annoying, but everyone records their lecture. So that's another thing is like you can go back, they record it like on Zoom and then like publish it later. So if you're like, man, this lecture made no sense to me, you can go back and listen to it, pause it, listen again, like keep going as many times as you need to. So that's another bonus too.
oh, okay. Wow. I'm being convinced. This is really bad for me. Ruby or Haley, if you have anything else to add, by all means, or even Mariana, if there's anything else you want to say, I think you've answered all of my questions on my end. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ruby or Haley, do you guys have anything? Are you okay?
I want to know more about like activities you do. You say you're still really busy and like you go to convention.
Yes. There is I guess I should have talked about clubs. There's a lot of clubs. You can join absolutely everything and anything. There's a contact lens club, there's an ocular disease club. There's so many things that you can do and like get opportunities from learning from there. So, my involvement is I'm the class secretary for our student government. So every week I send a weekly email just highlighting basically the agenda for the week, every quiz, every lecture, everything that week. So that takes about, I do this to myself, okay? Like you really don't have to do the most, but I don't know why I always do the most. So that takes about like an hour of my day, but I will say like I'm able to see what I have to do that I'm doing it anyway. So if I'm sending it to the class, like whatever. I run the Instagram account, which is something new that we've done is like all the classes in our school for like just do class pages just for fun. It's like it's not mandatory that I do that or like that we have to do it, but I'm also the vice president for Ocular Disease Club, which is really cool. So we definitely try to get like doctors to come in, especially a good refresher for OD3s who are studying for boards, OD2s who are concurrently in ocular disease course, and then OD1 who are in like micro and anatomy and can get like their toe, like, feet wet or whatever the expression is, like to learn about the material. So we try to make that like the best opportunity for everyone. I'm also student ambassador. So for interviews, I am on the student panel for some of those interviews. If there's orientation or anything, I also am there doing that. And then I think that is everything I'm in. I'd like to say that's everything. Oh, and I do the Instagram for Ocular Disease Club too. Add that one to the list.
Is that school pretty accepting towards like intro classes, like introductory biochemistry for like the prereqs?
I think so. So if you go, this is my best suggestion to you guys. If you type in, like, look at the school that you're applying to. Like, so for Nova, type in NSU optometry prereqs, NSU optometry curriculum, like whatever. If you look at so basically the curriculum website, like it's going to show you like a handout page of like 100 pages. It's a bit outdated because like I said, they've changed the classes around. They actually took out some classes that you guys, it felt like unnecessary, which I think is a good thing. I took them and like whatever, like it is what it is, but I didn't find them necessary and I'm glad they took them out. But there it tells you what classes you should take. I took it by like the basic first level of biochem and they took that. But if you actually really, really have questions, you can always contact like the head of admissions. That's what I did. I would be like, do you accept this course? Do you accept this course? And like also I felt like it got my name out there a little. So that's always a good thing. Let me put in the chat box. His name is Juan. Juan is our he's in charge of like admissions. So if you look up his name on Google for like NSU optometry Juan Carlos, his name will come up. If you call him, email him, he's super, super nice. If you had any questions, he's very responsive. And right now, I mean, right now is kind of interviewish season. Um, but if anything, like he usually answers all voicemails, emails, and stuff. Or keep emailing. Don't take no. I tell you, if you're getting no, ask again and keep asking.
Can I like branch off of that? So you mentioned that when you were talking about the pop program, and you said that they kind of choose you, but at the same time you had to ask to be put in the program. So how like what is the OAT requirement or GPA requirement for them to consider
So
you?
the reason I reached out was because every school had gotten back to me by Monday, and now it was Tuesday, and I hadn't heard anything from Nova. And I was like, it's a busy season. I'm like, what are the odds that like they didn't get my OAT or whatever? And when I called Juan, he had told me that he was a little behind. And he was like, I saw it, but I didn't like dive into like your application. So that's kind of where like that came along. But
Okay,
basically, that is the part that we just don't know because
okay,
my GPA was really good. Like our friends like all had like 3.8 GPAs, 3.6 GPA, 3.4 GPA, like very, very good. OATs ranged from, you know, someone as low as like a 280, and I know someone that got in with a like a 340 to pop, but it's because his GPA was low, like a
okay.
two, it was like a 2.7, 2.8, some the minimum whatever that Nova required. I think it's a 2.75 or something. I don't know. So I don't know because I know there's two people in my like OD class with me right now who got into Nova with a 290 GPA. But if you look online, I think their average is a 330, 320.
8:30. Okay.
Don't let that kind of like make it, I guess, look at it as like a goal. Like be like, okay, like I got a 330, cool. Like there are people that get 380s and still probably don't get accepted. You know, they could have a bad GPA. They could have during the interview, that is so telling. Like if they're not answering, they're not anything, like they're kind of going to be like, well, they're smart, but we need to produce like doctors, you know? So I would say take the OAT, like that information of like as a goal of being like, I'm going to shoot for this. I would hope to get this more of so that if I get this, I'm getting into the school. That would probably be my best advice for that.
And then during the interviews, how did you go about facilitating the conversation? Like, did you speak about your extracurriculars outside of school, or did you maintain the focus on NSU and your journey to NSU?
So every school's interview is different. Kentucky, it was me and like five admin, like just me and five admin. So it was very intimidating. It was more of them like questioning me rather than me being able to ask them. Nova and Indiana, those were online. Again, like I don't know how it is now. I know Nova does some virtual and then some in person. So I think now you have the option to pick. Um, but we had like a student panel in the beginning, like whatever. But then at the end, like when you're talking one-on-one, like with the doctor, Nova is a closed, for me at least, for POP, it was a closed application. So the doctor that interviewed me, that's the thing is like POP was a different interview than OD1, but I'll just tell you in case this is a situation for any of your other schools, I have no idea. It was like 25 of us. They gave you like an orientation of the school. They opened up a panel for everyone to talk, which I highly recommend you ask something so they know, like, if you're not saying anything, they're like, okay, do they just like not care? Like, at least ask something. I asked, I said, like, what role do like students play in like the structure of your program or the improvement of the program, whatever. Then I got an email. Basically, they sent me an email. They were like, okay, you're come back at 3:50, click this Zoom link. You're gonna have a meeting with this doctor. And I said, okay. So then in my time, I looked up the doctor's like bio on the website and I was like, oh, he's into this, or oh, the reason he's in optometry school is this, blah, 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 whatever. So I get to the Zoom meeting, and the one thing that optometrists love to talk about, surprise, surprise, is optometry. So if you can relate to, you know, why you got here, like what interests you in optometry, like that's like basically like our conversation just flowed. He ended up being, he is still one of my favorite professors to this day. I love him so, so much. but it just was a naturally flowing conversation. And then like halfway through, he was like, "Oh, I don't know anything about you." He's like, "Your file is closed. Like this is a closed interview." I was like, "Oh, like I had no idea." So I basically started, like I mentioned, like I highlighted the positives about myself, why I love optometry. I kind of answered that for him. Um, and if there was anything that I struggled on, I said, like from my hardships at the time or whatever, like I took that and like I learned how to become a better learner. I've learned to defy whatever, and I feel like I can apply that moving forward. And like they like to hear that, like that you're positive, you have a good outlook on this stuff. So I would say that one I definitely had the most control over. And then Indiana was the same way. It was like a big group, but no one-on-one interview at the end. So I guess it all depends on like, whatever program it is and what structure they have.
Okay, that's so helpful. I think not just for me, but for everyone. Also, I wanted to throw this out there. I know Haley, you said you're in California. I don't know if you have a pre-optometry club there, but we like organize this through our optometry club with Mariana. And if we have any future events, you're totally welcome to join. It's going to be linked in our Instagram.
Okay, thank you. It's
Oh,
it's kind of hard. It doesn't make me mad, but it kind of so anytime I say, "Oh, because I'm in an anatomy class right now," and then they're like, "Oh, you're doing nursing," and I'm like, nursing's great, but and then I say, "Okay, I'm interested in optometry." Nobody at the school knows what optometry is. They think it's like teeth. They think it's dentistry. I'm like, it's so upsetting because there's like nobody that even knows what optometry is, and it's hard to branch out to other people who kind of know what my goals are and stuff like that.
I was the
yeah,
same. I was the only one. There was no one in my undergrad. One other person, that was it, but
Yeah,
we have.
it's frustrating, but then it's like, that's why I kind of, I found you on Instagram and like I branched out to all these, different people and to just see like what their goals are and all that. So,
Oh, we're all the way in New York. You have a community with us, and then I'm also going to post this webinar. So if you want to watch back and see everything that Mariana shared with us today, you'll have that as well.
thank you so much.
Of course. And I don't know if there's anything else that anybody else wants to add, but this was so incredibly helpful, Mariana. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. And like I mentioned, like don't let a bad grade, a bad whatever, like dictate anything, even if it's like I know like I sometimes get in the habit of like if I get a bad grade, I'm like, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm like, don't let your whole day, your whole mood like be dictated on something that doesn't define you, which is like so hard to say because it's like, yeah, it doesn't define me, but this plays a big role in like me being accepted and me being whatever. Use that as fuel to just work harder. And like there is not going to be a single person or anything to take away anything from you. Not your goals,
Mm.
your dreams, your degree, absolutely nothing. And the hardest thing is honestly you're going to be your biggest competition is yourself. Like getting out of the mindset of comparing yourself to other people, being like, "Oh, well in undergrad I did so much better than I did now." That's done. Like that you worry on the now who are like you've come so far. Like so what you score a little bit less than you did on under. Look at how far like there are people dreaming of being in your position and what you do and like you thought about and hoped and cried of being in the position that you're in even now in like undergrad. I remember in high school I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do, and then you get to college and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe like I actually did what I thought like was impossible for so long. So always stay true to you and like your dreams and like block out all of the noise. You're going to have people that are going to be like, I hate this. I hate school. I hate being here. I hate everything about this. And like that doesn't represent you. Like I love my school. I love my program. I love what I do each and every day. I love my patients, my classmates. And like I said, honestly, fake it too. Like if you're having a hard day, like rewire your brain to being like, I'm okay. Like you could be in shambles and crying, be like, I'm okay. I'm okay. And your brain probably won't even know the difference. You can fully rewire how you think and how you approach things just by how you talk to yourself. So my best advice is stay true to you. Don't follow your own path and like stay in your lane and do what makes you happy and makes you complete. Absolutely. And you guys have all my information. My Instagram is fully open. You can ask me anything if you want. If you need another FaceTime call, something like outside of this, absolutely reach out to me. And that is what I'm here for. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for having
much.
me.
Of course. Is it okay if we take one quick screenshot for our Instagram?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone get ready.
Let me
Okay.
just redo this.
Okay, let me know when you guys are ready.
Alrighty.
Okay, perfect. So I'll be posting this. I'll share the link with you guys as well for the webinar, and hopefully we'll all stay in touch.
Absolutely. Reach out
Thank
to
you
me with
guys so
absolutely
much.
anything.
Of course. And thank you again for joining, Haley, even though you're all the way on the other side of the country.
Thank you. And I love that last bit that kind of touched me. That was very, very good. Thank you.
You guys got this. I believe in all of you. You have to
Thank
believe in
you.
yourself too, is the important one.
Thank
Will
you.
do, definitely. Thank you so much, Mariana.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take
Bye, guys.
care. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.